Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Skybound Capital's weekly podcast, Under the Macroscope. Great to have Skybound's Chief Investment Officer, Theodore Xu, in the Hong Kong office on the podcast today. I'm in Australia, so this particular edition, a truly global one of Under the Macroscope. Theo, great to have you on the pod once again. And we're going to be talking in some detail around shipping today. In recent podcasts, we've spoken about inflation globally in the last year or so and some of the root causes of that inflation. And one of the reasons which we've identified is pressure on supply chains globally. We're going to go a step further and talk about shipping today. And shipping, certainly not the cause of all the issues, but why does the shipping industry matter so much to us at the moment as we examine the causes of inflation?
Thank you very much, Matt. It's great to be back on the show. Although the name is the macroscope, today we are looking at some more micro aspect of this. And you are absolutely right. We shouldn't be blaming shipping for everything that we're experiencing today. COVID is probably the main cause, but I think shipping deserves a lot more attention than it has from investors, laymen, and everyone possibly. So a lot of our friends will ask the question, okay, shipping, why does it matter to me? How is it even relevant to our daily lives? I'll give two examples first. Number one, Christmas trees. So we are still very far from Christmas, but most of the Christmas trees are made in China, and the majority of them were shipped out to Europe and to US in July and August. This is slightly ahead of the normal schedule we had in previous years. So usually these Christmas trees are shipped out around like September, October time. And together with many other Christmas gifts, that directly led to a spike in China exports in August. And why is it taking place so early this year? Because if they were not shipped out in August, they probably wouldn't have been able to make it to the shores in Europe and US in time for Christmas. So that's just one example, and we are seeing many rescheduling around different supplies in the world today. The other aspects that's also very relevant to our average daily life is cheap goods. Again, this has a lot to do with China. China is producing all kinds of goods, but still including a lot of cheap products, much cheaper than how they can be manufactured elsewhere. Take baby diapers, for example. For a small container full of baby diapers, the worth of the goods will be around 20,000 US dollar. A year ago, if we ship that container from Hong Kong to Europe, to North America, the shipping rate would be around 2,000 US dollar, which is about 1/10 of the total goods cost. But today, if we are shipping the same container to the US, the freight alone will be over 30,000 US dollar, meaning the same, in simple math, the same container of baby diapers, when they are being sold in Walmart, they have to be sold for more than 50,000. Despite the 20,000 cost. And that is what's happening now. That is having pressure on many, many goods in our daily lives. And that is directly adding bit by bit to the inflation that we're seeing today.
Okay, Theo, so I get that shipping costs are higher, but I'm intrigued by the Christmas tree story. And why will it take them longer to arrive than has been the case in the past?
So simply put, the whole world at sea is in a traffic jam. So all the ships are basically in a big traffic jam. The normal commuting time are extensively extended already. So early this year, I'm sure a lot of our audience still remember the blockage in Suez Canal, which led to multiple days of delay. But compared to the traffic jam that we are seeing now at sea, we are no longer talking about days, but possibly weeks and months. And even the wait time at each port has been extended from 1 or 2 days to a few weeks already. And if we look at all the major container ports in the world today, 7 out of the top 10 are in China. So that means, again, whatever happens in China could significantly impact all the shipping traffic, as I mentioned. So another story, there are more than hundreds of containers being currently stationed in the port of Shanghai. They were bound for the US in February this year, but they remain in the port storage to today. What happened back then? So at the very beginning, of course, there was just too much cargo in the port. Those containers didn't even make it to the storage of the port. They were queuing outside of the port. But when they finally made it to the port, there was a resurgence of COVID cases in Shenzhen, the world's third largest port. So by the way, Shanghai is the world's largest port. And Shenzhen is the third largest port. There are COVID cases. So some of the workload got shared by the rest of the other Chinese ports. Subsequently, delays led to more delays. But in July, there was a typhoon. There's a typhoon Infa, which was a pretty severe typhoon and impacted all the ports in the east again, caused the delays by more than a few weeks. Then in August, the port of Ningbo, which is the fourth largest port, saw more COVID cases. And again, most of the ports in China was forced to go through another round, a big round of checkups, investigations, etc. And this is why those few containers remained in the storage today. But that's not the end of the story. I mean, yes, there's blockage in the ports, but there are also blockages at sea. There are tens of ships waiting outside of Los Angeles today, hoping to get into the port. So we are seeing these bottlenecks everywhere along the whole route. And this is why many of these shipping time has been extended further.
So there's a lesson here. If you're planning to buy an artificial Christmas tree for this particular festive season in 2021, make sure you get it early. Go down to your store as soon as you possibly can. But Theo, there's obviously an incredibly high level of demand, which is what you're describing here, congestion outside ports. Is it too simplistic then to assume that the shipping lines are having the best period of their existence?
That is absolutely right. I mean, we have been talking to many owners of shipping lines, large shipping line companies. They did say that they have never seen a good time like this in many decades. So this really is among one or two of the best time they've ever seen in their lives. But that doesn't mean it's all rosy for them even. Many industries are called cyclicals for a reason. And the shipping industry is a typical cyclical industry, meaning there are always ups and downs. Yes, they are enjoying the ups right now, but they are also living this dilemma every day on what shall I do going forward? Shall I be buying more ships? Shall I be adding to the capacity so that we can keep charging these high rates to our clients? Or should I be concerned that if I am adding more ships, I might end up with empty ships next year? And would that directly aggravate my downtime when I am going to a down period? So that is a big dilemma they're living today. But on top of that, they are also facing many angry clients because of the congestions that we talked about. Many of these world's leading shipping lines were forced to cancel many voyages. And as you can imagine, for the guys who get their cargo delayed in traffic, they are angry. But for the people who do not even manage to get their goods out, that's more disappointing. And nowadays, many high value items are being shipped. So imagine a ship full of items like iPhone or PC chips. You can easily be looking at a total ship worth of over hundreds of millions of dollars, but they are worth that much in January. They will not be worth that much next week after Apple announced the new iPhone. So for the clients who actually use the shipping services, timing is critical.
But it's a juggling act, isn't it? Because it's not only the capacity of the shipping lines themselves, but the congestion that you've described also means there would need to be increased capacity in the ports to accept an increasing number of ships. So it's not just the lines themselves. So Theo, are we expecting then, given what you're seeing now, that shipping and related factors around shipping could lead to some very long-term inflationary pressure? And if so, where do you see investment opportunities? You always like to see opportunity in chaos. How do you see this one playing out?
So in the very near term, we do believe shipping or all these difficulties that the shipping industry is facing today will be adding to the inflationary pressure. But in the medium to longer term, however, I will circle back to my point on being in the cyclical industry. And I think things that go around will turn around. And ultimately, we are seeing some natural adjustment within the industry and also natural adjustment in the capacity of their clients, being those manufacturers and exporters. So in the medium to longer term, I think I agree with what the ECB president Christine Lagarde said yesterday in the press conference. Although Europe is now having an inflation rate of over 3% and it may remain there for the rest of the year, but next year we are seeing lower inflation. I think that is the picture that we will be forecasting as well. And therefore, back to the shipping industry, yes, it is currently causing a lot of stress that are leading to further inflation. But I think that kind of pressure will wane gradually if we give it a few more quarters. But you're absolutely right that there are always some opportunities that we see. So in the short term, when the shipping still matters a lot, I think we are seeing opportunities with, firstly, good shipping lines, even for those share prices that have already gone up a lot. I think we see further room to go up for the world's leading shipping lines. But I need to stress that there are many good companies, but there are many bad companies. Being in the good industry doesn't render the bad companies to be in good shape again. So the shipping lines that are operating very efficiently, they will benefit. And so are the shipping yards, the ship builders. As I said, for some of the leading shipping lines, they are definitely trying to ramp up their capacity by buying more ships. That trend will also die down, after this whole congestion period, but for now, the shipbuilders are also churning a lot of new ships out, and they will definitely do very well. But we will suggest to stay away from ports because yes, traffic is very tight there, but they're not making more money. We have this year alone, we have seen strikes, we have seen interruptions caused by COVID. The ports are actually not functional in the normal fashion. So we will stay away from ports. We will also stay away from insurance. As you can imagine, they will have to pay for a lot of the lost time and sometimes the lost goods even. And this is not prime time for them. But in the medium to longer term, as we mentioned, that we are no longer seeing the inflationary pressure from shipping. We believe there's definitely more upside opportunity for the good manufacturers because at the moment they are trying to pass on all the inflation pressure to their clients. And imagine when the shipping rates, when the freights are coming down, how much will the exporters be willing to cut in their pricing? Maybe not to the bone. So I imagine they will enjoy much better margin going forward when shipping is no longer at the epicenter.
Well, Theo, you mentioned at the start of the podcast that this is something of a micro issue, but what has become evident over the course of this chat is that there is macro influence all throughout the supply chain. So fascinating to listen to your views as always. And don't forget Theo's advice. If you are going for a Christmas tree in 2021, or at least an upgraded one, then go and get it early. You can download the Under the Macroscope podcast at Apple, Spotify, and the Google podcast platform for Android, and all past editions of Under the Macroscope are available at Skybound Capital's website, www.skyboundcapital.com. Theo, as always, great to chat to you. Thanks for your insights. And until next time on Under the Macroscope, have a great week.